Hello, and welcome to Jason Cavness Experience. I'm your host, Jason Cavness. I'm also CEO, founder of Cavness HR. At Cavness HR, we deliver HR to companies before and after your people. Cavness HR is also hosting Cavness HR Seattle's Got Tech as part of Seattle Tech Week. We'll have 16 early stage tech startups doing a demo of the product, like live product demos, and a keynote by Kevin Goldsmith. Our guest today is Cleo. Cleo, thanks for being here today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
And just come up there, yeah. And do your best not to pull it back like that because it'll fall off.
Okay.
Um,
Is this good?
yeah, that's good. Yeah. So always try to start with what I think is a softball question. So how do you either take care of yourself, have fun, or what are your hobbies?
How do I like to take care of myself? I love to travel whenever time permits, and I love trying out new foods.
So what's the most I won't say weirdest, but strange, but kind of off the wall food you've tried?
Oh, I would try pretty much anything. I don't consider things off the wall. As of late, I mean, this isn't so weird, but I was just in France and did some
And then
escargot.
pretty chair straight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did some escargot, so snails. Some
Okay.
people might think that's strange, but anything you put butter on is always good.
I might have you beat. When I was in Vietnam this last time, I ate goose intestines.
Goose intestines.
Yeah.
And what did that taste like?
It was so good. Top 5 things I ate in my life.
Really?
Yeah, at first, I'm not eating no freaking goose intestines. But it came out, I looked like, man, this is kind of tasty, right? I drank a few beers already. Let me try it out. Oh my goodness, this is so good.
And how was it prepared?
It was I couldn't tell you. It was like a bunch of I think it was butter on it, like a bunch of sauces and stuff,
Yeah.
Probably covered up, yeah.
Was it grilled on a stick?
No, it's just it's like a big dish, like a chicken and rice dish, like goose intestines, like some rice, yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. But in a million years, I would never said I'm eating goose intestines.
I think you gotta try everything once.
I'm firm believing that, yeah. Me too. So what's a country you have not gone to yet that you want to go to?
Oh, there's many on the list. I would say continent first. I haven't gone to Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always been on my list. So any countries there,
Okay.
I'm very much open to.
I want to go to Norway for some reason. I have no idea why. I'm not a big fan of the snow. Maybe it's the Northern Lights, but Norway is in my mind for some reason.
Yeah, I'm more of a warm weather kind
Yeah.
of girl. No, I mean, I'd love to see it.
Yeah.
It's not high on the list.
Yeah.
So.
Cool. And so you just recently came from the Cannes Film Festival?
Cannes Lions
Okay.
Festival.
So those two different things?
It's two different things. The film festival is focused on film. The Lions Festival is more marketing and advertising and PR focus, but it is mirrored after the film festival.
And so you invited this, you just showed up. How did this happen, right? Because it seemed like that'd be a pretty big deal to go there.
It is very interesting. I am part of an organization called Fusion Fashion Tech Society, and we basically, it's a bunch of individuals, either founders or individuals that have a huge commitment in sustainability and fashion. And there was a program that was happening there, and I was asked to speak. So I went there to speak about Redyoos, which is the company that I founded, and spoke about sustainability. And this year, the festival actually had a huge focus on sustainability, which is, I think, fairly new to the festival. So that was really interesting for marketers to kind of shift or highlight sustainability in their campaigns. So that's why I was there. But this is a conference that is very different than any conference I've ever gone to.
And how did you did someone reach out to you to speak here, or something you applied to speak at? How did that happen?
Yeah, so it's a little bit of both. This kind of organization that I'm a part of, they pretty much go into different conferences that is related to sustainability within fashion. So there's usually like an offshoot type of event, or they work with different type of organizations. So they ask for speakers that are interested that's going to be there, or that wants to speak, or you can apply. So it was kind of both ways. I've spoken in several of the organization's events, and it just so happens I was going to be in the area, and so they had asked.
So as you know, I think there's a stat that most people would rather die than public speak, right? But while you like, I'm assuming you're kind of comfortable with public speaking. How do you become like comfortable with public speaking, and how did you get, at least decent enough to where you have confidence in speaking in front of people?
Well, I think all of this public speaking that I'm doing for the company, it's kind of twofold. One is I'm speaking about a very novel idea that not a lot of people have heard of, at least within the fashion technology world. There's a lot of conversation about textiles recycling and how we upcycle it and how we make that more sustainable, but from a jewelry and precious metal standpoint, that's not really been a conversation or a topic that's been had. So I think when there's conversation around sustainable fashion, I am more the novelty. I'm not talking about textiles, I'm not talking about apparel, I'm talking about the other thing that kind of makes the rest of your whole look, it completes your look, which is fashion and accessories. So I think there's a little bit of like thought leadership that's involved in the public speaking that I'm doing, because it's just not something that's being talked about. And then I think accidentally I've just been taking this like talk on the road, and I've gotten more comfortable to talk about it. If you would have asked me like 10 years ago, would you speak at any of the conferences I've been to, I'd be like, you're crazy. I'm not gonna go talk about X, Y, and Z. But it's a topic I'm really passionate about, and I think that resonates with people, and it also, I think the purpose and the impact that I want to talk about also resonates. So.
Any tips for people like they know they got to public speak for whatever reason, but they're just scared shitless, right? Any tips for them?
I think don't overthink it. I know that when I overthink it or I over-prepare about what I want to talk about, that's when I get really nervous, because I want to like follow the script. But if I feel like my conversation or my talk is more conversational and authentic, it feels better for me as a speaker. Therefore, I think it lands better to the audience.
You make a good point. Like, I'm a firm believer in this. Like, sometimes you can practice too much, right? There's a point in time, like, it may not be perfect, but sometimes you do more harm than good by practicing too much, I think.
I think so. At least for me, I get very paralyzed by over preparation, because I get so focused on like, did I say the right word at the right time, like scripted, as opposed to just like speaking, where as long as the message is there, I think that's the purpose.
So this is, to me, this is kind of weird for me. Like, whenever I speak like publicly, if I kind of remember what I'm saying, like, people don't say anything, but if I do the speech and I'm like, what did I just say, right? Then people come up, Jason, great speech, like, and I don't remember anything I said. I just like talking, right, off the cuff, so to speak,
Yeah, I also think, to your point, there's more engagement when it's a little bit more off the cuff rather than like too prepared.
Yeah, I agree with that. Any interesting people you met at the Cannes Lions Festival?
Any interest?
Yeah, interesting people.
Oh, tons of interesting people. So I was going to say, this is a very interesting conference that I've never gone to. Tons of celebrities that I was not anticipating.
And when you say markets, like chief marketing officers of like big corporations or all across the board marketing?
Tons of CMOs. So this is in the French Rivieras, and I was just walking the Crescent, which is like the boardwalk on the beach. And I happened to run into one of like people that worked at Starbucks as a CMO, and now he leads this like huge agency. But those are the people that you run into, right? Like, I had no idea I was going to run into him at the conference at all expense. But anyways, so we were talking, and these are the type of people you run into, but there's celebrities that were there. So a few of the celebrities, like Serena Williams was one of the panel speakers. Jimmy Fallon was there. Reese Witherspoon, just a mix of people that I was not there was an evening event that had Cardi B at like a Spotify stage. I was like, this is definitely not a conference.
Well, you're like, what am I doing here?
Exactly. Like, what is this whole thing for, and why am I here? It was just a very interesting event, and they had like yachts. Instead of meeting in rooms, you met in yachts.
That's insane. I can imagine. I'm like, can I afford this? I can't afford this.
Exactly. Well, and the tickets are quite expensive.
I can imagine.
So
you got to upcharge right there, right?
So I'm thinking, like, who is like, spending all this kind of money to travel, to buy the ticket? I mean, the content is great, but like, sometimes it's unattainable from a pricing standpoint.
Yeah. And did you feel your speech went over pretty well? Or your talk?
So, I mean, it's much smaller.
And what was the talk on again?
So it was about marketing and influence of marketing and sustainability. So basically making sure that, or informing the audience that there's a way that you can actually turn marketing for good instead of just pushing profitability or sales.
And so you spent time like you said, Starbucks, Gap, other big corporate companies. Like, how did that experience either help you or not help you with what you're doing now?
It's funny because I think every experience that I've had, both professionally and personally, has led me to where I am now. I have been fortunate enough to work in really big corporations. In each of those corporations, there's like some really important things that I've taken away. So you mentioned Starbucks. What I would say I got the most out of Starbucks is the importance of storytelling. I mean, what other company out there could profit off of literally water, essentially, like a percentage of coffee and mostly water. But they do a really great job of storytelling and creating a community and doing storytelling through community. So.
I mean, the truth be told, like, I drink Starbucks all the time, but it's not the best coffee, right? But it's the experience, right? You go to Starbucks, it's so quick and easy to put your name on there. Well, hopefully they spell your name right. A lot of times they don't spell your name right, but it's this experience, right?
Yeah. Do you have a Starbucks name?
No. No, I don't, no.
Well, but your name isn't
Yeah,
so
no,
complicated.
yeah, it'd be different, it's complicated, yeah.
Yeah. I respond to Chloe at Starbucks. Actually, most people get my name confused with Chloe. They like somehow get like what is that scenario where you dyslexia?
Yeah, dyslexia. Yeah. I mean, your name's pretty. I mean, unless I don't get like Cleo's pretty. I don't know.
I would think so, but I do respond to Chloe.
Okay, good to know. Good to know.
Intertwine the O and the E for some reason.
Yeah. So Fusion Fashion Tech Society, is this like a nonprofit, for-profit?
It's a nonprofit.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's here in Seattle, or?
No, it's actually based out of New York.
Okay.
Yeah, and the first, the inaugural event was actually about a year ago, and that launched in New York during New York Climate Week.
And what's your role with them again?
It's just another group. It's an organization where we literally talk about,
okay.
Sustainability and fashion and everything that evolves.
And then your company's partnering with something called Evergreen Goodwill of Northwest Washington.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that partnership?
Yeah, so Goodwill, I think everyone's familiar with Goodwill, but Evergreen Goodwill is, I guess, their kind of regional location, and Redyoos partners with their jewelry. So we take on the jewelry that they're not able to sell, and we process it through the circular economy model that Redyoos has.
So the name of your company is Redyoos, but it's spelled kind of different, right? Can you explain that, like how the name, why you name it Redyoos, and why is the naming, the spelling is kind of different?
It's a very good question. So Redyoos is spelled Redyoos, and it was actually named by my daughter, who is 7 years old, but when I started the company, she was about 6. And Redyoos is really like the phonetic spelling of the word reduce. And how we came about that is that we were brainstorming on the kitchen table, me and my children on like, mommy's building this company, what should we name it? And they were throwing out sustainability words, reduce, reuse, recycle. And my daughter said, well, how about reduce? And she spelled it on this whiteboard that she had. And then I looked it up online, and the URL was available. It wasn't trademarked.
People don't realize how important how hard that is, right? That is so hard. Renaming a company, that is so hard nowadays.
It's so hard to name the company if you don't want to spend $1 jillion.
Because someone might have your URL and they want $10 million for some craziness.
I mean, there's a whole business around like just holding captive some of these URL availabilities, whether it's a .com or a .ai or whatever it is. There's a cost, but this was free.
Yeah, that's the best one.
Yeah.
And so, how many kids do you have?
I have 3.
And what are their ages?
I've got a 14-year-old son, an 11-year-old son, and a 7-year-old daughter.
And when did you start your company?
So we launched about a year ago, but I've been working on it closer to 2 years.
So you talk about the process of how having kids, being a mother, influence being entrepreneurship. How's that been either a blessing or I won't say a curse, but make it kind of hard to do this?
Oh, it's quite difficult. I mean, I think being a mother is one of the hardest jobs I've ever done. Starting a company is one of the hardest jobs I've done. Putting that together, just chaos.
And talk about, I'm a firm believer when someone's an entrepreneur, that makes them parenting that's way better because your kids see you being a role model, they see you starting a company, they see you the hardships, all that kind of stuff. I just think that makes a kid better in life in the long run.
I hope so. I hope that is what they're seeing. Yeah.
So how do you deal with that for you're having a bad day? And do you share it with your kids? Hey, mommy had a bad day today. Cook your own dinner tonight. You know what I'm saying? Don't leave me alone. How much do you share as far as the highs and lows?
I think they see enough of the highs and the lows. So an example of the highs, I actually took my 14-year-old son with me to cons. I think I might have ruined it for him because his first question was is this how all conferences are, Mom? I was like, no, this is not how all conferences go. You're not going to see Cardi B in a conference in middle Washington, right? But that was a way for him to experience, one, kind of the industry I'm in, and two, seeing firsthand mommy's up there talking about what she's passionate about, what she's building, and how the audience is really resonating with. The lows, I mean, today was one of them. I had a ton of things to do. Kids are at home. We don't have summer camps yet. It doesn't start until next week, so I'm trying to balance. Luckily, my brother-in-law was able to take the kids, but one of the challenges were, my daughter wanted me to take her to the library, and I'm like, I don't have time to just take you to the library in the middle of the day. I'm building a company. So, that's one of the lows. It's showing them how it's really hard to balance.
So how do you balance that? Your mother, your wife, I'm assuming you have some kind of social life, some friends you hang out with once in a while, all this stuff, right? And being a mother, how do you balance all this stuff without, feeling guilty and beating yourself up too much?
I don't think guilt ever goes away. I think it just softens, and then it's really prioritizing, right? I know how much time I have in the week or the day, and prioritizing what I need to get done for the company and the family.
And you're also a board member of something called Refugee Artisans Initiative. Can you talk about that?
Yes. So Refugee Artisans Initiative is an amazing nonprofit here locally, and what we do is we support refugees and immigrant women through by providing them with financial independence through giving them the skills of sewing, and by upcycling materials that would have otherwise gone into the landfills.
So go back to day one you started a company. What's something you know now that you wish you'd known then?
That's a hard
Everything?
I say this because prior to starting a company, I ran companies, right? So I can scale a company, and so I feel very comfortable going from 1 to 2, 2 to 3. It's the 0 to 1 that's very difficult. I mean, mathematically, it's impossible what 0 to 1 is.
Because no one wants to be the first customer, right? No one wants to give you the trust. And it doesn't really count if your mom buys it from you, right?
Yeah. You know, there's a lot of things you just don't know until you get started. But it really is just like, it's the starting is so much more involved than anticipated.
So what's like a sustainability hack you have at home so people can copy?
Sustainability hack. Know that you can recycle your jewelry. It's not really a hack, but it is a very novel idea that most people are just like not familiar with.
So why did you start your company? What was like the light bulb moment?
Oh, very good question. I say it's kind of threefold. First one is my whole career has been in fashion and accessories. I feel like there's so much waste that I've brought to market that I just didn't feel good about anymore. So I wanted to stop that. I wanted to be part of the solution rather than the problem. Secondly, I feel like though I've had the fortune to work in some really great companies, I just feel like I've, lined too many people, especially men's, in the C-suite's pockets for too long with my great ideas. And I felt like, why not me? Why not now? And then, which led me to, thirdly, I felt like it was time for me to bet on my own, like on myself.
Is there some stat that's showing like which country like wastes more jewelry, like America wastes more jewelry versus the Philippines versus China or anything like that?
Not really from a waste consumption, but it's not waste production, but more consumption. So, for example, India has 20% of the gold in jewelry. So they hold a lot of these precious materials, but from a fashion jewelry standpoint, the United States definitely consumes quite a bit of fashion jewelry, and then I would say Europe.
And then you were nominated for something called the Earthshot Prize Award. What is that?
Earthshot Prize Award. It is one of the most coveted award or recognition within the sustainability world. I am not worthy to have gotten this nomination.
I mean, obviously someone thought you was worthy.
I will tell you the story about that, but let me tell you what it is. So it is basically an award based out of England. It's under the org of the royal family, so they actually fund this. And what they do is they want to really support any initiatives, organizations, businesses, people that really want to have solutions against climate change. And they have different categories like waste management, water diversion, all of those. And then there's 5 winners, and each winner gets about £1 million, sorry, since it's based out of London. And the support that you get within the global community is, I would say, more valuable than the actual money that you get. So that's what the Earthshot Prize Award is. But to be really honest about how I feel like I am not worthy or Redyoos is not worthy, it's just because we're pretty early on. But I do understand the recognition that we're getting and I guess just the vote of confidence that the organization or our nominators have. And it's also one of those things that you have to get formally nominated for. Like, you can't just apply for it. You have to have a nominator that nominates the organization.
Do you know who nominated you, or is that
yes.
secret? Okay.
So here's the story. I was in Paris about 6 months ago, and one of a colleague of mine just basically was like, "Hey, I have tickets to the sustainability conference in Paris. Do you want to go?" And I'm like, "What am I going to do there? We don't even do the business there. It would literally be for fun, right?" So I told my husband, and I was like, "There's just no point of us going." But he goes, "Well, we have these hotel credits that we have to use up. So why don't we just go?" We go. Fast forward, we get to this event. I meet this wonderful woman called and we talked about a full hour on what I'm doing, and then she goes, "Have you heard of the Earthshot Prize Awards?" And I'm like, "I'm in sustainability, and of course I have." And then she goes, "What if I told you that I am one of the formal nominators?" And I said, "Well, then I need to get to know you more and keep you in my contact list." And I said, to be completely honest, the Earthshot Prize Award is actually on my vision board for Redyoos for year 5. If we ever got to that stage, I would feel so validated. But that's further down the line. We're too early on. There's too many other organizations that's doing amazing things that should get these first. And then she goes, "Well, what if I tell you I want to nominate you?" And I said, "Thank you, but no thank you. Like, we're too early." And then she basically talks me into it. 2 days later, I get this email of like, "Here's everything. You need to fill it out." And it basically felt like college, like overnight or during finals, right? So I'm like frantically filling it out and submitted it, and then a few days later it was like, "Congratulations, you're from." I was like, wow, I am not worthy.
It's amazing like how many people get opportunities like that, but they don't take it right because like they think that you're early or whatever. Like how many people like give an opportunity like, "No, I'm not early," but yeah, that's pretty interesting. So what is ethical, sustainable operations?
Yeah, I mean, it's very keyword and buzzy for sure. For me and for Redyoos, it's really making sure that you are being thoughtful and responsible about how you address the end of life of whatever you consume, and for us, it's jewelry.
So what do you tell someone, suppose someone's out there like, all this climate stuff is hokey pokey, fake news, it's not for real. What do you tell these people?
Go do some research. I am not here to tell you whether it's real or not real. I think it's actually non-debatable at this point, but if you still want to debate it, I would say go do some research on anything you're consuming, like whether it's your clothing, whether it's the food you're consuming, whether it's the water that you're using to brush your teeth with, like do some research.
And it's not, going on Facebook and, clicking what your friends are saying, right?
No, not that kind of, like, valid, academic, from scholars, maybe.
So, what is the core sustainability mission of your company?
We have a few, but I really built the company under the circularity model, so circular economy. And really the 3 main tenets in the circular economy model is, one is to design or build something with the idea that it's gonna extend its life the longest it possibly can live, right? The second tenet is to make sure that you're diverting it from landfilling. And the third really is to return it back into nature, or as close to natural state as it possibly can be. So jewelry is important when you think about it through the circular economy model, is because jewelry mostly composes of precious metals, and precious metals like gold and silver are natural and finite resources, meaning once it's gone, it's gone. And these are things that go through everything we use, especially anything that has an on-off button or that's in technology. I mean, it's in the computer that you're using. There is in this microphone that has wires in it. It was even in our COVID tests. Gold had COVID. There was COVID tests had gold in it. So these are very important things, and they're scarce, and we're literally running out of it because of overconsumption and overmining.
So how do you balance like you being like a environmental person trying to save the earth versus running a company? Because sometimes they don't balance out together.
Look, you can't be perfect. I am in the camp of like, just start somewhere. Like, you don't have to be 100%. I think that if everybody collectively did 10% towards, finding a solution for climate crisis, we would all be better for it, rather than a few that aims for 110%.
Yeah, I think a lot of people want to like recycle, but sometimes they make it hard, right? Like something like where I live in DuPont, for a while recycle glass, then like that, no more recycled glass. There's always like changing stuff. Got to do this, do that. A lot of teams, I think they make it too hard to do.
I agree. I think there's a lot of like misinformation, lack of access, policies when it comes to recycling. Like we just don't make it easy, and that's really what we want to do. Is we just want to make it easy and convenient for people to address something that they don't want anymore and make sure it doesn't landfill.
Yeah, I don't know how true this is, or you always hear like, like you recycle stuff, but then there's like these big barges in the middle of the ocean, 1,000 pounds of plastic. Like, so what? What's the point of me recycling this? It's randomly in the ocean somewhere, falling into the ocean, right? Like,
Yes.
if that's true, I have no idea. I might be making that up.
Well, there are large barges of recycled materials coming from here to our global south to just deal with.
And what kind of KPIs are you tracking?
So right now it's really from feedstock collection, it's pounds of how much jewelry we're collecting and how much of that what percent of it we're diverting from landfills through those different channels, whether it's being reused or recycled.
Is there a certain type of jewelry that's easier or harder to recycle, or they're all pretty much the same?
No, I don't know that any of them is easier. Fashion jewelry, for example, is much. It's more challenging because there's no value. Like you can't like melt it. There's no value in plastics, right? A lot of fashion jewelry has plastics in it, mixed materials, and that's harder to find value. But what we do is we partner with local nonprofits and we give it to them where they can give it to their members or resell it to fund their nonprofits.
So talk to the process of how this works. Do you have like someone brings you like 1,000 pounds of jewelry and you melt it in some kind of factory fire and like resell it or something? Or like,
Yeah,
how's that work?
It's a good question. So I'll talk through kind of from a customer perspective. So you, Jason, you've learned about Redyoos and you're like, oh yeah, I have this like Ziploc bag of jewelry that's just been sitting around in my drawer. I don't know what to do with it. But now that I learned about Redyoos, I can address it. So there is, you can order a mail kit on our online where it's free. You basically receive the mail kit, you put in this jewelry that you didn't know what to do with before, and then we recycle it for you. So once we receive it, we go through the whole process through the circular economy lens and make sure that everything we have is extended in terms of life. So if it's fashion jewelry, we put it we're gonna share it and donate it to our local nonprofits where it can be reused in some type of way. And then if it's precious, if it's fine jewelry that has precious metals, we will recycle it and put it back into circularity to be raw materials. So essentially that's where we feel like we're the urban mine, right? Like instead of you getting raw gold from the mines, we are now able to provide that for you to manufacture what we hope is to be clean technology.
So you mentioned the term circular economy a few times. What is that? Is that some kind of closed loop economy, or what is the circular economy?
Yeah, so it's actually a whole movement. There's a few circular economy events during PNW week, actually. If people want to learn about it some more, but it's something that was really established by Ellen MacArthur, and she was the one that really established, what this whole idea is of balancing people, profit, and planet, and making sure all of that is in symbiosis.
So what's been the hardest part for you so far building your company? Everything, right?
Everything. I would say time. I'm calling where we are right now kind of like a success disaster. only because I am overwhelmed by the amount of success and interest from the community and the customers and the industry, but we're trying to catch up with the demand that we're receiving. So,
And who's like, you mentioned nonprofit, so who's like your like quote unquote perfect customer?
perfect customer is literally anybody who owns a piece of jewelry that they do not know what to do with it. So basically, it's someone that's like, hey, I lost this like pair of earring match. I don't know what to do with the singleton, or like a broken chain. I don't know what to do with that. And the current alternatives right now, or current channels to address it, just doesn't make sense for them, or inconvenient, or whatever the reasons are. But what we're providing for them is really a way to address the end of life of their like pre-loved jewelry in a responsible way.
And what are some assumptions you had when you first started that you like were totally wrong?
That it's just females. Not to genderize things, but you know, yeah, there's a good group of men that actually wear jewelry, but for me, it's really more a generational type of male. So, for example, I got a letter from a customer, and it was a son that is basically clearing out, or that he inherited a bunch of jewelry from his mother that has passed, and he didn't know what to do with it, but he wanted to really like honor her legacy and be really thoughtful about her belongings. And once he learned about Redyoos, he was most likely to choose us versus just like donating it or recycling it to, you know, the current models right now.
And you bootstrapping everything right now?
Everything is bootstrapped.
Is there a plan to fundraise in the future? You're going to try to bootstrap the whole way?
Well, as a founder, I'm told we should always say that we're always raising.
Yeah, I know, right? Another false thing they tell us.
You know, I go back and forth on that. We are a for-profit for a reason, right? And to get to a scale that I would love us to get to, and to get the impact of why I even really started the company, I think at some point we're going to need some capital. Where it comes from, I don't know that we're going to go directly to VCs. I think the first line of defense for us, if we need to raise, it would be angels and family offices. So anybody out there, however.
So what's something about sustainability that you think people are getting wrong, like a myth out there that's totally false?
Oh, there's many. I think sustainability is such a big, hairy word. But one thing that people get wrong is that like that it's black or white. I think it's an index for a journey, right? Like you got to start somewhere. You're not gonna be like 100% like zero waste. You collect your waste in a jar for a full year. I don't even do that. Like I can't do that. That would be impossible for me to do with 3 kids. But you know, like you gotta start somewhere. Like you gotta. I mean, even I think thinking about what you consume is a start. I think that's what sustainability is. It's just like really questioning, like you know, the things that you consume and where it comes from and how it affects everything else.
So I'm assuming like when you first got this idea, like day one you started, like first idea, that you had this vision. Is that still the same vision, or has like your vision kind of changed through the years?
I think to the core, it's still pretty consistent. Products or messaging has deviated a little bit, but yeah.
And you were born in the Philippines, right?
I was.
And how old were you when you came over to the States?
I was 9.
9? Oh, wow.
4th grade.
I bet that was like I won't say traumatic experience, like a culture shock, I would have to imagine.
It was a culture shock.
And you moved here to Seattle or somewhere else?
Seattle, yeah. I flew from Manila to here all by myself.
What?
at 9.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Whoa.
So yes, it's a very shocking
Wow.
experience.
How often you go back to the Manila?
The last time I was there was 2 years ago with family. Yeah.
And so do you consider yourself like a female immigrant founder, underrepresented founder?
Absolutely.
And so how does that affect how you build businesses and how you like people approach you, like things of benefit, disadvantage?
It's definitely a lens that I build the business through. I was talking to someone else about, I don't know, when I was posting something, the whole hashtag of female Filipino founders doesn't even exist. And that to me is crazy town. Yeah, there's just not a lot of us out there that I know of. So again, another shout out if there's any other female Filipino founders out there.
Do you think because there's actually so many few of y'all doing this, or just because everyone's in the little silos and they look on like Eventbrite and Luma and they don't see nothing that calls to it? It's always like, like the same old stuff, so to speak, right?
I think in general, there's just not a lot of us out there. There are not a lot of female founders that look like me, especially in like clean technology.
Can we met at the Filipino something founders group, right?
Yeah.
In Bellevue, yeah. But they only meet like once a quarter, I think, right? So they really have a regular meeting. I know there's what's it called? The guy Ryan runs like a monthly Filipino founders group out of his core working group. Venture Mechanics. Yeah. So I know how popular that is and not popular,
I think it was the same group, and we've kind of migrated to different locations.
Okay. Yeah. So what's your like personal goal for yourself?
Personal goal?
Yeah. So like be like the, I don't know, the recycle queen, on social media, like,
Oh no, I don't have that kind of ego.
Yeah. Is it like reduce waste by a certain percentage or like?
Yes, I think if reduce can replace, not replace, but produce the same amount of precious metals as like an artisanal mine can produce annually, I feel really good about that.
And then like how does a financials work? Like, is it like, how I put this question? Like I'm making this like if you recycle a pound of gold, it saves a certain amount of money from waste or something like that, or like how does that work? Like the financial modeling.
Yeah. So the product that we're dealing with is much different than a lot of other recycled materials. So gold right now, I haven't checked today, but gold was trading at $3,300 an ounce or something, right? So there's definitely value in this commodity that we are trying to recycle. Not only is it good for the planet to recycle these finite resources, but it's also economically viable.
Has anyone said to you like this is a good business model, but like this isn't real business, like recycling jewelry, like what can you really accomplish with this? Have you ever had to face that question?
Not in those words. I have yet to have someone come up to me and be like, this is a really stupid idea. But I have had questions of like, can this really take off? Like how much impact is it? Are people really throwing away their jewelry? Like those type of questions, like how large of a problem is this?
Yeah. What do you see the future of your company being?
Who would take over the world?
Obviously.
I think a win would be if people just even learn that jewelry is recyclable.
I'm honest, I had no idea. I had no clue at all.
Yeah.
There's something you buy, you kept it with you forever or gave to someone, one of your relatives.
That's right. I see it very similarly to way back when, before recycling cans from soda was even available.
I remember those days, yeah. I remember that, yeah.
But, now that it's been introduced that there's actually a system in place and it's an easy way for people to do it, it's more adapted, right? And I think, I'm not even sure what the numbers, but I remember reading that in the state of California, once tin can or aluminum can recycling was introduced, the recycling of aluminum shot up to like 50%. So if we can change behaviors in that kind of way, oh my gosh, I'd be.
So how do you change behaviors, right? For example, like, so in Vietnam, there's a lot of pollution there, a lot of waste, right? And so I was told by someone who lived there all his life, like back in the day, the Vietnamese people like wrap all the stuff like a banana leaves, right? And they throw banana leaves away, which is a great thing. But now everything comes like plastic, right? So now instead of throwing away banana leaves, they throw away plastic, right? And they can't unlearn this behavior, right? So is there a way to unlearn this, or is it just like you have to deal with it, for lack of a better word?
I think it's a system shift, right? Like, and I don't think you have to create a whole new system. I think you need to be a part of it, right? Like you mentioned bananas, and this is actually one of my like hot take is like when you go to a store and you see fruit that is wrapped in plastic, like a banana specifically, why are we wrapping bananas in plastic? It's naturally wrapped. Like that's what.
You know what? That's a damn good point. I never thought about it. Like, that's a damn good point. Yeah, you see it all the time, like banana fruit wrapped in like plastic, whatever. Yeah.
Any fruit.
Yeah.
Any fruit.
Yeah, I never thought about that, but you're right. Yeah,
but like,
makes no sense.
The amount of waste that now, not only that plastic is going to live for another 150 years or whatever, but what did that really do to the banana?
Nothing. It didn't make it fresher. Didn't make the life longer. It didn't make it taste better.
No.
Did nothing.
It's one of my hot takes.
Like zero value added at all. I never thought about that, but you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's every fruit that you see, and it happens in Asia too, which is just mind-boggling to me. Like, why are we doing that here specifically? The other hot take on plastics is like in the Philippines, they like have little versions of like shampoos or soaps. I think this is also in Vietnam where it's just like one-time use. I think it has a lot to do with affordability. Like people can't afford a whole Costco size
Yeah.
shampoo.
Yeah.
So they sell like little tiny things, but then the plastic
It's still there, yeah.
used, you're finding it in like the rivers and the lakes, and I'm like, ugh, why?
Yeah, I wonder, like in future generations, like 100 years from now, they're gonna look back at us like we destroy the economy through all the plastic stuff, right?
Plastics.
I wonder how that started, like all the plastic, stuff, right? Like where that started at, like, because back in the day, plastic was really nowhere, but then all of a sudden, like plastic was everywhere. Plastic water bottles, plastic this, plastic that.
Oh, it was touted to be like the God sent material to man. I mean, it has helped a lot of things, but like we humans do, we've overused it and turned it into not so great things.
What's one thing you do that is probably not so environmentally good, right? Like your guilty hack, so to speak.
Oh,
like I know I should do better for the environment, but I'm doing this no matter what. Like this is my guilty pleasure.
So I'm a mom of 3. There's a lot of like inconvenient things. Here's an example. My daughter just had a birthday party, and the goodie bags. Oh my gosh, another hot take of mine. Like, why are we giving away junk pieces of goodie bags at birthday parties? When did that ever start? So anyways, I told her we're not doing goodie bags this year, and it like broke her heart. And so I actually was like, okay, well, we went to Target, and I had her choose one thing that she can give away to her friends, and it was like lip gloss or something. I also felt guilty that I was still doing that, but it's one of those things. It's just like a balance between like what is like common practice in our culture versus is it harming the environment or my daughter's poor heart.
Yeah, like me, I believe like take care of the environment, clean water, clean air. But I definitely think some people go too far, right? Like, do you really want to like get rid of everything? Like, do you want to live back in 1800s, no hot water, no bathroom, no electricity? Do you really want to live like that? I don't.
No, we would all be like living in an episode of like Naked and Afraid.
Exactly, right. But it seems like some people want to do that, right?
I don't that this goes back to like the scale, right? Like I don't think we need to be all the way there. to just find solutions. And look, I think even within the sustainability community, there's a lot of like, I don't know, there's a lot of people that kind of poo-poos other people's ideas because it's not 100%, you know, the solution. And my thing is just like, well, why don't we just stop being part of the problem and be part of the solution, whatever that means.
I think some people's reason I have to be questioned too. I remember I saw an article on LinkedIn one day. This guy who was like, hey, you know, I'm in the environment, right? I'm pretty successful, had like a multi-million-dollar company. And he said, I take my private plane everywhere, right? And I started tracking the carbon credits. I'm basically doing carbon credits. So I'm gonna sell my plane to someone else. I'm thinking, okay, if you want to save carbon credits, just don't fly your plane. You're selling it to someone else. He's gonna sell it, fly it probably just as much as you, so there's no carbon decrease. Now you don't do a carbon credit thing, but is that really changing anything? Is that making your ego feel better?
Exactly. I mean, you got me there, right? Like I travel. I don't travel by cargo ships because I don't have time to do that, and that's not what I like want to aspire to be either. I don't have the time to go to Europe for
a 6-month boat trip.
Yes, I don't, and I don't want to.
No.
So
there has to be some kind of balance or some kind of trade-off across, whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
And I feel like the trade-off of me like flying to France to talk about something as important as sustainability in an audience that don't really have sustainability as top of mind, I think there's value in that, and shoot me if it's not the carbon. Yeah,
now of course I can see people like I'm pretty sure Cardi B, all these superstars flew them in private jets, right?
Oh,
so I can pretty sure the argument would be, hey, you had this nice, you know, marketing, whatever you call it, whatever, but look how many carbon things you're wasting.
Oh, everything. I mean, the sustainability person in me just got like the hives looking around everything, like from signage to the swag. Like, I'm sorry, TikTok, I don't need another TikTok canvas bag. Like, but why does it have to be branded? Or even like a reusable water bottle? Like, I don't need it.
So one thing I don't understand yet is like, what are carbon credits? What is carbon? What is that? I don't understand that. It's above my introductory level.
I am not the person or the expert to talk about that, but there is somebody else within the Filipino founders community. Her name is Epi.
Okay.
Her whole startup is around carbon credits and tax.
So I need to have her on then, because sometimes like, are you making this shit up? Like just, you know, like.
Well, the reason why I say I'm not an expert on it is I think there's just like there isn't a standard way to capture it or quantify it that everybody uses, which is why I think causes a lot of confusion.
And so like waste, everything, it's a worldwide problem, right? So does it really matter if like we're in the United States, we reduce waste or pollution by 20%, but China, India, Russia, all these other countries like increasing their waste and pollution? Because eventually air is there, right? Eventually air is going to come over here, right?
Yeah. Well, it depends how you look at it, right? Like if you as a country just have your own particular goal, then it matters, right? Like it feels like you're kind of chipping away on this large number. But you're right, like we're breathing the same air, we're drinking the same water. Like it is a human problem.
Yeah, it's a big global ecosystem. It's not like, oh, you hate the China air, like it's going to stop here, right? We reduce our air quality, increase it by 25%, and then this China like, hey, thank you for the air quality, U.S., you know?
Yeah, I mean, for better or for worse, like globalization has us by the balls.
We have to do something though. You just can't say, hey.
Exactly.
Yeah, you can't be like, what's the story? Like, I don't hear the story where a grandfather and grandson walking down the beach with like thousands of starfish got stranded, and the grandson like started throwing the starfish back one by one, and the grandfather's like, "What are you doing? That doesn't do nothing. It did for the starfish. I just threw in the ocean," you know.
No, it's true. I mean, that's when I think you really have to have a come to Jesus moment with yourself and be like, what do you really want your personal impact to be?
Yeah. What are some ways that we can make recycling or just doing all this climate, you know, easier for people to influence them? Like, hey,
I think just like offering like a really easy way and understandable way for people to not just recycle but reuse or repurpose it in some kind of way, really to just like, I mean, first off, I think it's reduce, like reducing any type of, we do not need to
You don't need a new pair of shoes every day or every month.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's this like number that I was blown away by that I think one of my circular fashion colleagues throw around, which is we have enough apparel right now to clothe the next 6 generations.
Yeah, easily. You go to any Goodwill store, any vintage store, any secondhand store, any store period, right? Anyone's closet.
Yeah, so you know, it's all about, I think, reducing how much you consume.
And how much do you think plays in people's egos, right? Hey, I wore the shirt a week ago. I can't be seen again. I wore the suit for like last Sunday church or whatever, right? How much do you think that plays into it, you know?
I think not as much as it did before. I think, you know, when I was younger and I was in the fashion world where there was this thing about like having to change seasonally your items, making sure you're in season. I think that's less and less of a thing, although I could be wrong because fast fashion is still furiously growing. But, you know, I think there's a group of people or a movement that's actually valuing, like, I'm reusing it, or like the rental market space where it's like a shared type of inventory, or like one of my favorite places to shop is my grandmother's closet. It's a vintage. It's like, it fits me well. I'm not buying something new. So yeah, I think there's definitely, I find that there's people more interested in like bragging about like it's a secondhand or vintage find than like I just went to the mall, which who goes to the mall anymore?
Yeah.
And I bought this like new t-shirt. Like it's just a t-shirt.
I think one thing too, I think another thing might be a disadvantage, like you go to a vintage store and they want to charge like $1,000, right? Like this is an old t-shirt, right? How you upcharging so much, right? For being vintage.
That's like another hot take of mine. It's like if you want to welcome people within the sustainability lifestyle, you've got to make it accessible. Like there is absolutely no reason for you to be charging a 1990s Bud Light t-shirt for $60. I don't care who wore it. It's just it's a t-shirt, and if you want people to choose that over a Temu or Shein t-shirt, like you got from a pricing standpoint, have to compare.
So you're focused on jewelry now. Do you see yourself getting into like other materials like textiles or anything else?
No. I think there's so much opportunity within the jewelry industry that I like that little niche.
So from your point of view, how does your company make it, whatever make it means to you?
I think if some brand recognition and people, you know, once they're done with their jewelry and they think of Redyoos as an alternative to address what they no longer want, as opposed to all of the other current solutions, I think that would be a win.
And what has to happen or not happen for your company not to make it?
Oh, I think there's not enough people that know about us still. So, and I think just like partnerships is still a really big one. We have some good ones, but there's just not enough. There's so much more jewelry customers than there are jewelry recyclers.
So do y'all do this? And you probably don't, but like, suppose I give you a gold ring, right? Hey, I want you do you do with it? Do you like give me reports like, hey, it's here now, it's here now? Do you like have a kind of story for how the jewelry goes?
I would love to get to that. That's a plan for us to do
That'd be so cool.
Some transparency. Yeah. We're just not there.
Okay.
I mean, it goes back.
That's in your 5-year plan.
Yeah. It just goes back to just like not having the time, the resources to like build that in. But oh my gosh, that would be amazing for us to provide that.
So I'm assuming like you, like most people, you probably have a to-do list 100 things long, right? You probably do maybe 4 or 5 a day. Let's suppose you had something on your list, been like number 82 for like a year, right? Do you say, okay, obviously it's not important for me to do, let me take off the list? Or you're like, okay, no, I put on the list for a reason, it's going to stay on there until I get to it?
think I'm more in the camp of if it's still part of the like plan, I would keep it on there. It may move up and down like 82 to maybe 50, but then might have to deprioritize or reprioritize based on what the ask.
And you already talked about this, but how do you prioritize your time?
Yeah, I mean, obviously from a company standpoint, it's really to grow the company, and that really means to like have more customers. And so whatever that is, like the constant forward movement is really the lens that I'm using, right? Whatever decision, whatever task I'm making, does it ladder up to that? Is it going to move us forward to the larger goal, which is to really make an impact?
And are you working like 7 days a week, 100 hours a week, like balls to the wall, so to speak? Or are you actually like taking care of stuff and taking breaks and that kind of stuff?
It depends. It really depends on, there's ebbs and flows. Like there'll be weeks where, there's a lot of like burning the midnight oil. But I also have the flexibility, right? Like I don't have to work the 9 to 5. I couldn't do that because of my kids. And I value flexibility. I like to be the ones to pick them up from soccer practice or school or whatever. I think that there's ebbs and flows, but in general, I'm working harder than I've ever worked before in another corporation with the least amount.
What's that saying? Start your own business, you never work 40 hours a week again?
You never work 40 hours a week. Yeah, what is that? What is this concept? I mean, is my mind constantly on and thinking about Redyoos? Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I could be like watching a Netflix show and I'll spark an idea and I'm like back to either my notebook and writing notes or on my phone writing notes. So like, oh, this could work. Or
And do you do any networking?
Networking? Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So we don't do any marketing right now. So any customers I've ever had, it's either through networking or through any of the talks or the kind of panels that I've been on.
Yeah. So one mistake I made earlier on was I went to all the networking events, right? Which is not a good idea, right? How do you like decide which one's going to add value to you, or that you can add value to that event?
That's a really good question. I think you look at like what is the purpose of the event? I mean, love me a good happy hour, but I don't need to go to all of the happy hours. I don't really drink, so there's no value for me in that like social aspect. So those are nice, but I don't really go to most of them. I just don't find value in them. But other networking events, I love going to like just like any female organization type, female founders. I find a lot of community in that. I tend to find groups of women that are in the same boat as me. And then just anybody that's within the sustainability space. Not specifically jewelry, but I like learning about other ways that innovation is being done within circularity.
Do you have a go-to event you go to like every month or something?
Every month? No, not consistently. I do have a rule that I need to go to a networking event at least once a week. Only because one, it's a good break off of what I'm doing. Because as a founder and having a really small team, you get kind of siloed and like stuck, and it gets kind of lonely. So it's nice to just like be out and meet new people or re-engage with other people. So that's my only rule about networking.
So once a week? Are you able to meet that goal most weeks?
I think so. And it has to be something that's like gonna ladder up to my goals, right? Like I said, I'm not going to just look at a random happy hour. It has to be within that like space of either female founders or. Now I'm kind of trying to get myself out there in terms of like funders, so like VC type of events or angel type of events. Not a big fan of like pitch events.
Yeah. So I'll do a quick plug for my event. She's
Yeah.
mentioned it. So Seattle Tech Startup Week, Kevin's HR, Seattle's Got Tech. We actually have 3 female judges. I think 6 or 7, 16 companies pitching our females. So,
Awesome.
Toronto 4, food, drinks. We're gonna have a cocktail bar, which doesn't really appeal to you, but yeah, gonna go all out. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like an amazing event.
Got 82 sign-ups so far. So
Very cool.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many events that's happening.
It is,
in
yeah.
Tech Week, but even before Tech Week, there's the Pacific Northwest Climate.
yeah, that's
Week.
going on. Yeah, that's yeah.
So between those 2 weeks, I'm like my social capital is just.
And that's one of my pet peeves by Seattle Tech is like everything happens during this time period, which is understandable because it's the best time of the year.
Yeah.
Like who wants to do an event in November here, right?
It's true.
Yeah, but so it's like, man, but all this stuff going on, and then October to February is like is nothing, right?
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Maybe you should get on that, Jason.
I need to, yeah.
Get on like an autumn
I need something, yeah.
Tech Week.
Because so we have like 16 companies pitching. We actually ended up having 55 people applying, which was like blew me away.
That's a lot.
Yeah, so I'm considering like maybe doing this like once a month, once a quarter. If I get sponsored, I can't do this shit for free, If I try to get some sponsor, yeah. It's some pretty cool companies and other like people are like, what the fuck, what is this, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And the fact that you have that many female founders
Yeah.
is amazing.
Yeah.
Is it like industry agnostic?
Yeah,
or-
internet. So one thing I didn't want to do, I opened all tech. I didn't want to do a pitch competition. Everyone's doing that. So it's like, so think of a tech trade demo, right? Like 16 tables, 16
Yeah.
people doing demos. And I don't want to do all AI, right? There's a AI company. There's one company they have like what's that thing called? Like when you're pregnant and they put the thing on your stomach, sonogram.
Ultrasound?
So one company has a mobile ultrasound. They take the ultrasound to your house.
Cool.
Another company has like you put something on the phone and you check your hearing with your phone.
Okay.
Another one has like some kind of new, you know how you have in your home, you have the network thing, you plug the Wi-Fi, a new type of router. So all kind of different things. One person has like a parenting app, yeah, so different, different things, yeah. I didn't want to be like this one thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and some people like that, like
Yeah.
just like a specific.
We got some pretty cool prizes, like Z Account is giving 6 months of free bookkeeping, S2SPR is giving free PR, so putting some cool prizes. At least I think they are anyway, right?
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So be
So
sure to sign up.
I just don't have the time. I mean, that's kind of that's always the consideration
Yeah.
of like what's the ROI on
Yeah.
the time that you're putting in, right? Like there's tons of accelerators,
Yeah.
there's tons of things that I think I would love to be a part of, but I just like,
Yeah, no worries.
yeah.
The only thing I know, Chris, I mean by Seattle Tech here is like the community, like there's all these solids, right? Like New Tech in the West, Founders Live, Startup Grind. It's like they're all doing great things, all like solid, right? They never like cross collaborate or nothing. It seems like
That feels like very Northwest, like Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, the passive aggressive, yeah.
Which is so silly because it's such a small community compared to other cities.
Mhm.
Like, why are we siloed?
Yeah, I know. How often do you go back to the Philippines?
Let's see. I'd like to get there, I don't know, every other year.
Okay.
Because I'd love for my kids to just be immersed in the culture. But have I done that? Probably not. I'm probably averaging more like 4 or 5, actually.
Okay. And what's the language called that they
Tagalog.
Tagalog? Yeah, it's not Filipino, it's like Tagalog, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing you're pretty fluent in that.
Yeah.
How about your kids?
They can understand.
Okay.
I'm not very much speak.
Mm.
My vocabulary is stuck at that 9-year-old phase. So, could I run a business there? Probably yes, but I would sound like a 4th grader.
So, what's something about the Philippines that you wish more Americans knew about?
Oh, just how beautiful it is. If you're a beach person, like, you gotta go. There's tons of amazing untapped beaches.
I think most people think the Philippines is like one big island, but it's actually like hundreds and even thousands of smaller islands, right?
7,700, give or
Okay.
take. Yeah.
So I'm guessing y'all have a pretty extensive ferry system.
Not as good as you think it should be. If the infrastructure was there, you'd definitely get to see a lot more. But no, not really. And I would just say the people, like, gosh, it's so untapped from intellectual standpoint. Most everyone speaks English.
Yeah, we talk per talk. Most people don't realize the history change of Philippines and America, right? The Spanish-American War was fought there. We've been there for a while, right? Most people speak English because of American influence. The religion is mainly Roman Catholic, right?
Yes, the Philippines has been
That's from the Spanish, occupation, you want to call it,
Yeah, heavy influence on the Spanish colonization for sure. The religion, the language is very similar to Spanish. I count better in Spanish than I do in Tagalog, actually.
Yeah.
Because I don't know why, but it's weird. But yeah, a lot of the base words are rooted in Spanish.
Can you recommend like a really good Filipino restaurant in the area?
In the area? Oh my gosh. I think one that comes to mind is gosh, I can't think of it right now, but it's the one that just opened down the street. Not just. Is it Gigil? No, it's not Gigil.
It's not the one we met at the founders event, was it?
No, that one's that one is more like Guamanian.
Is it? Okay.
I think. But the one that I'm thinking of is by Miranda. She's like this renowned Filipino chef, and she has two restaurants here locally. One in Beacon Hill and one is in the IB. And I just cannot think of their names.
Okay. So what's a skill that you think you need to work on?
Oh my gosh, so many skills. I think one is being. I think I tend to be on the like humble side, and not so much about like taking credit for a lot of the work and celebrating a lot of the work. So I think I need to be better at that, whatever that word is. Like I'm not great at like accepting compliments or.
So talk about this, right? I've been in some on podcasts a lot of time. Like, so there's all this like pay gender gap, right? And like, but stats fulfill like suppose me and you go for an interview, right? Or me both get offered a job, right? And I make all this totally up. We're both doing the marketing, same role, whatever. They both offer us both $80,000. Stats show 9% of the time I'm gonna say, hey guy, like I'm worth way more than that. I may get, I may not. 9% of the time, females will say thank you very much for the opportunity, and nothing right. So they give me a raise to $100,000, and so because I opened my mouth and you didn't, I have $20,000 more dollars. Year goes by, we both do a great job, both get 10% raise. 10% of 100 is way more than 80,000. And to make it worse, stats show like we both do a job for 6 months. I go and say, hey boss, I've been working town for 6 months. Where's my raise? I may get, I may not. For you closed a multi-million-dollar deal, did some great stuff. Everyone says, hey Cleo, go ask for a raise. I'm just doing my job, right? Like, how do you like? Is that the responsibility of the corporation? Hey, we're not doing negotiations, or like, do like females need like, how do you usually train, like hey, speak up more? Like, how do you defeat that?
That is something actually that I have learned really early on. The skill that I needed to have if I needed to thrive and climb the ladder. I think I've been very good about negotiating my value and speaking out. One of the things that I take with me that I learn a lot from a female advisor or mentor is assertive, not aggressive.
But that can be a fine line, though, right?
Yes, but as a female in corporate America, it is really a dance that you need to like really hone. Because it's very easy, to your point, for people to think that like just because you're being assertive, you're being aggressive. But for me, those are words that make me kind of know to be like to stand up for what my value is, and that to recognize that like my voice matters. So that's kind of like a thing that reminds me to like fight for whether it's compensation or role or title within the company.
So you already talked about your company some, but can you do another like deep dive on how the company got started, what you focus on now, what your big dream vision is for your company in the future?
Yeah, how my company got started, it really is after like a long burnout from running another ethically sourced B Corp certified company, jewelry company. It's really funny because I basically was like so burnt out from that. I wanted to have a sabbatical, and I told myself a year, and then 3 months in, I decided to start a company. And it was really rooted in the fact that the time was running out for our climate crisis, and I knew that I had a solution that could help contribute to minimizing some of the damage that's being done. And then what's next? I think just continually growing the company, having more partnership, having more brand awareness about what we do, and really like educating people on the importance of recycling precious metals.
Is your company B certified?
It's not. No.
What does that mean? What do you get out of being a B certified company? What kind of value does it bring? I heard it's like a long process to do it.
It used to.
Does it really mean anything anymore?
We're going to come at me for this, but it used to be a very valuable certification. It's like a third-party certification that you're really managing your business in an ethical way. And the 3 tenets is, people, planet, and profit. Making sure that any decision you make around that.
So you have to be for-profit to be B certified, or can you be nonprofit?
That's a good question. I think there are nonprofits that are B Corp certified, but it's mostly for profit that I know of. So it's really like the stamp of approval to know that like it's like organic certified, right? Like
that's something I don't understand either. When people say this is organic beef, like what do you mean it's organic beef? Like it's a cow, right? And I'm guess if somebody say you do feed it certain types of food or whatever, okay, I get that.
Grass-fed.
Yeah, like no antibiotics and no whatever you want to call it. It just kills me. It's like organic carrot. Like it's a carrot. Like how can that be organic? Like I don't get it.
Yeah, I know. It's like the pesticides. How it's.
Yeah, I mean I get that. Yeah, I get it. But man, it's a carrot, right? I don't know. I'm not to that level yet.
Yes, but some people really want to know all of that.
I know, right? Yeah.
But yeah, that's what B Corp certification is. I don't know if we're gonna go through that route because my personal opinion is I don't think it holds the same value as it did when it started.
Why do you think that is?
I think that I think depending on the size of the company that gets the certification, it's very different rigor around how they get the certification. So.
Is there anything I should ask you that I didn't, or anything else you want to talk about?
Not really.
Okay.
Do you have any other questions?
No, I mean I have plenty, but we have a hard stop.
Yeah.
Can you share ways for people to reach out to you?
Yes. So Redyoos.com, REDYOOS.com is how you can order your mail kit if you want to recycle that long-awaited jewelry that's just sitting in your drawers that you don't know what to do with. And also I'm on LinkedIn if you want to reach out. Have any questions about what we do, want to learn more, that's where I'm pretty active. By active, I mean not so active. I'm not a social media person, in full honesty. My friends laugh at me about this. I've never had a personal social media account. Like, I don't have Instagram. I've never even had Facebook. Sorry. So
I do have another question. How do you deal with this? How do you deal with like people like stealing jewelry and then trying to pass it through you? Like, do you have to like bring some kind of receipt, type of proof of ownership? How does that work?
Yeah, right now it's just an honors system. We don't have our buyback program yet, which we actually will have, an exchange in value. That's another product that we're trying to launch. Then we would have to be a little bit more rigor in terms of like making sure that it truly is will we can't make sure it truly is yours, but you've got to sign like a waiver that it's yours to actually like donate or recycle.
So how will it work? Most brings you like 10 gold rings. It goes a process. It's wherever it's at now, and the police come and say, "Hey, these 10 gold rings were stolen from wherever." Like, do you just say, "Hey, you know, I hate it for the guy," or like what happens? Anything?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically it's hard to have any tracking devices off of these jewelry, right? But
is it like a big concern of yours, or?
It is, right? I mean, I don't know that it's big, but it's a concern. But like most businesses, you're gonna have bad actors.
Yeah.
I don't want to build a business around bad actors. That's my thing.
So if we got it, can you give us any wisdom or advice or anything you want to talk about?
Oh gosh, wisdom? What a heavy word. I don't know that I am like wise enough to give you wisdom. But I really go back to the whole like, you know, if we have any chance in hell to get to a better place with this climate crisis, like everybody has to do their part. I think that's really it.
Cleo, thank you for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This has been fun.
Thanks. And to our listeners, thank you for your time as well. Remember to be great every day.